Hello, I'm Michelle Davis, and I am Executive Director of the IFOPA, and we are so thrilled to have you with us. I love holding this meeting, the family gathering in November, because it's a time of Thanksgiving and gratitude. I hope you've been following the IFOPA's With Grateful Hearts campaign. We launched it on November 1st on social media, so I hope you're following along to hear about all of the things that the staff, the people, the organizations, and the experiences in the FOP community that we are so grateful for. And I hope you'll take our challenge and comment on those posts and tell us what you're grateful for. When we come together like this at the family gathering, our thoughts immediately turn to our founder, Jeannie Pieper, who celebrated her 66th birthday in August. As well as Nancy Sando, who's one of our 10 founding members who turned 65 this year. It's the vision and dedication of these two women, along with 9 other people, that laid the foundation for this incredible community that we have today. Over the years, there have been other family members who have selflessly served the organization and our FOP community. Rebecca Wallace, who you'll meet in just a minute, is our current board chair at the IFOPA, but we have other past board chairs with us today, both Mark Gambiana and Christy Gonzalez. And also with us today are Lori Henrote and Holly LaPrade, who served on the board of directors. Thanks to each of you for your service. It's an important commitment being a board member, and we couldn't do this work without you. We know that one of the biggest draws of this meeting is the opportunity to hear from and meet with FOP experts in the very popular Ask a Doctor and Ask a Dentist meetings. On top of all of these things that these people do in their day jobs, consulting with patients and doctors locally and sometimes from around the world, and running clinical trials, they volunteer their time to come here and to give talks and to hold these special one-on-one meetings here at the family gathering. So I want to say a special thank you to Drs. Fred Kaplan, Ed Shao, Bob Pignolo, Alberto Hidalgo Bravo, who is here from Mexico, and a local FOP expert, Dr. Ellen Elias. Also with us this year are 2 very special dentists, dentist Stina Ekstrom, who is from Sweden, and Rajesh Baraker, who is with us from India. And tomorrow during one of our sessions, or maybe it's Saturday, we'll also be hearing from Dr. Lisa Friedlander, who is a periodontist in Paris. So thank you to them as well. We're also excited to have doctors and nurses who are interested in FOP and who take time out of their incredibly busy schedules to join us here and have the experience of learning more about caring for people with FOP and their families. Also joining us this weekend are Dr. Catherine DeHeer, genetic counselor Amber Burley, and study managers and coordinators Emily Chartelot, Ashley Lind, Margot Black, and Tammy Evans. We love our kiddos and the teens and their siblings, and we're grateful to Lexi Gonzalez and Sabrina Salas and Lily Gonzalez for hosting the Kid Zone and Teen Zone, giving our kids a safe place to be with others who are living similar experiences while their moms and dads are in sessions. In 2018, at the family gathering in Baltimore, some of you were with us at that meeting, we launched the first FOP Biobank, which collects blood, saliva, and urine from people living with FOP and some healthy controls. Dr. Dan Perrin and his team then worked their magic on those samples, and then researchers around the world have access to them. They don't have to find someone with FOP and get their own samples. They can just focus on their research. So we are really thankful to have Dr. Dan Perrin from Emory University, who champions the FOP Biobank. And he has an experienced FOP team here with him, Lindsay McAuliffe and Tasha Borley. So we hope you will take a minute and look on page 7 in your program book, scan the QR code, and make an appointment to take 30 minutes out of your time here in Denver to advance research. You can donate blood, urine, or saliva. And as you might imagine, blood is the most valuable donation, but they're all important. We really need donations from patients of all ages, especially repeat donors, and kids with or without FOP. Don't tell the dentists, there is candy, including ring pops for those who are donating. We are incredibly grateful to our generous sponsors for helping us create the space for this community to come together as a big family. Our visionary sponsor, Regeneron Pharmaceuticals, will hear from Dr. Susan Rhee in a welcome message tomorrow. Our leadership sponsor, Ipsen, our family gathering supporter, Insight, and our family gathering friend, AshiBio. So tonight, yes, thank you, kids, help me in thanking them. So tonight, you are going to get to meet the staff of the IFOPA. Rebecca Wallace is here as our board chair, and she's going to take us through a discussion, a quick discussion about the IFOPA community and our growth over the past few decades. So Rebecca?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Rebecca Wallace, like Michelle said. I'm from Madison, Wisconsin. My son Eli has FOP. He is 16 years old now, diagnosed when he was 8. So we've been a part of this community for a while, and I'm really grateful to be here with you all today. First things first, I would love to introduce our talented staff from the IFOPA. I'm going to let them say their own introductions.
Hi, everybody. I'm Melissa Davis. I'm the Family Services Coordinator, and I am from Bozeman, Montana.
I'm Jamie Roach. I'm the Operations Director in the Kansas City area.
I'm Sammy Kyle, the Real World Evidence Manager, and I'm from Colorado. Welcome.
I'm Emily Barnes. I'm the Marketing Manager. Been here for 4 months, so very new, and I'm based in Kansas City.
I'm Catherine Royce, and I'm the Fundraising and Special Projects Manager, and I'm from Boston, Massachusetts.
I'm Hope Newport. I think I've met and talked with all of you at this point. I'm the Family Services Manager, and I am from the Kansas City area.
And you know me, but I'm also from Kansas City.
Thank you all so much. So tonight we're going to take a little journey through the history and the evolution of the IFOPA. And really at its core, our organization, it's a community-based organization. And Michelle mentioned our founder, Jeannie Pieper. In 1987, she met Dr. Michael Zasloff. And before that, she had never met or spoken with anyone else who had FOP. Dr. Zasloff gave Jeannie a list of other patients that he cared for, and she got right to work and started a letter writing campaign. So once she got in contact with other people who had FOP, it didn't take her very long to actually officially found the IFOPA and incorporate it as a 501c3 nonprofit organization. That happened in 1988, just 1 year after she found any other people who were like her. That community really got to work right away once they found each other. So first things first, they're looking for researchers and doctors to be interested in the FOP condition. And what do you need to give, to help people learn about you? You need some money first. So the first major family fundraiser happened in 1990. And what that funded was the first International FOP Symposium. That happened in 1991. It happened at the University of Pennsylvania. 28 physicians and scientists were there, and 21 FOP families gathered. As our organization progressed, in 1992, Drs. Fred Kaplan and Eileen Shore established the FOP Molecular Biology Lab at UPenn. And a number of years later, they co-founded and now co-direct the Center for Research in FOP and Related Disorders. In those early years, getting things started, family fundraising really played a large role in being able to move our efforts forward. So I'd like Catherine to talk with us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, family fundraising is why we are here today. It's how we got to where we are. Initially, that's the only way that money was going to come in. We didn't have pharma sponsors yet, and so family fundraising started in 1990 with Judd Bogart's family holding the first ever charity golf tournament in the Boston, Massachusetts area. And it just grew from there. And I've got so many families to mention, I don't want to forget, so I'm going to read. But after that family fundraiser, all of the families, so many families involved in the IFOPA at that time started doing their own fundraising, like the families of Ian Callie, Danny Coyne, Aaron Danzer, Tim Hazlett, Carly Henrote, Holly LaPrade, Kyle McWilliams, Stephanie Snow, and Lincoln Wheelock. And then as new families joined the IFOPA and they saw how they could do something to help in this fight against FOP, they started fundraising as well. Families like, and for these following families and some of the other ones that I've already mentioned, a lot of this fundraising continues today. But families like those of Caleb Burgess, AJ Gonzalez, Zip Gordon, Joey Hollywood, Ethan Chrisman, Dylan Martin, Ashley Martucci, Sienna Otto, Cade Russell, Josh Scoble, Eli Wallace, Daniel Williams, and Maria Ray. Many of these families are in attendance tonight, both the original group as well as the newer families. And I just think it's an opportune moment for us to be able to thank all of them and have you be recognized. So can somebody from the families, the following families, stand or just let us know you're here, and it doesn't matter which of you do it. All of you can if you want, but Caleb Burgess, Danny Coyne, Aaron Danzer, AJ Gonzalez, Tim Hazlett, Carly Henrote, Joe Hollywood, Holly LaPrade, Cade Russell, Eli Wallace, Lincoln Wheelock, Daniel Williams, and Maria Ray. What a group. I mean, you guys are amazing. Some families have raised hundreds of dollars a year. Other families have just continued to push and have raised hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. And Robin, I warned you, but I didn't warn Mark. But if Robin and Mark Gambiana could please stand for us for a moment. Mark, as Michelle mentioned earlier, is a former board chair. Mark and Robin are Lincoln Wheelock's maternal grandparents. And from the time he got his diagnosis, they have been fundraising, and they've done it all. And I just think it's a huge testament to their determination and their persistence. They are just under $1 million raised. They've done a whole different assortment of fundraising. They've had 5Ks, they've done dinners with raffles, they continue to do an annual letter writing campaign and all kinds of other things. I'm probably not even aware of half of what you've done. Other families have done things like sold honey, and you'll hear about more about that in a little bit. They've held bake sales, they've done a coffee bar, they've done a lemonade stand. AJ Gonzalez, I'm looking at you or your family. They've had brisket sales, they've done galas. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you do, and it doesn't matter how much you raise. What's important is that you do whatever you're able to do, because all of us up here want to be worked out of a job. We want to get to the point where we are not here doing this event anymore because we have the treatments we need and hopefully even a cure. And thank you to all of you who help us every single year move that mission forward.
All right, so going back in time where we were, as if all of that wasn't enough, the IFOPA at that time was purely family-led volunteer organization. There was no staff, it was just all families working together. And so aside from the fundraising and getting that first symposium going, getting researchers interested in FOP, families were also supporting each other. They were launching efforts to create networks to get people connected and share anything that they could that would be supportive to other families. The first FOP family meeting happened in 1991. It was at Walt Disney World in Orlando, and 9 families attended. And from that, here we are today, and I invite Hope to tell us a little bit more about the importance of being together.
Thank you, Rebecca. So since that time, we've been gathering as a community, not just in Orlando, although we have been back to Orlando, but in different locations around the U.S. to come together as we connect and we learn from one another and from the incredible FOP medical and dental experts who volunteer their time to make these events possible. And these, as Rebecca mentioned, these family meetings were originally planned and executed by volunteers from the community who helped to foster and create this welcoming space that we see continuing to thrive today with all of you. And throughout the height of the COVID years, we, as most of the world did, shifted to hold these virtually. In that setting, we welcomed families from around the world to join in our programming, and our previous high of 80 families at an in-person event doubled as we connected with almost 160 families from around the US and abroad. And in 2023, as we resumed back to our first in-person meeting since COVID, we, like many other national organizations around the world, were excited to be back together. And the IFOPA, as we're always constantly looking to evolve our programming, incorporated a sibling workshop for the first time for adult siblings of individuals with FOP, and our special teen zone space, which you see down the hallway today. One thing that has remained constant throughout all of these years is that very tangible strength that I hope you all experience when we come together as a community. And for many of you, this may have been the spot where you first met another FOP family. And I hope that what you realize and what you'll continue to take away from our time together is what incredible support and strength we have in our small but mighty numbers.
Thank you, Hope. So in addition to, supporting by gathering, some families were also taking the initiative to share resources and share what they learned about living with FOP. Amanda Callie, a FOP mom that many of us know well, she started the Traveling Resource Center. And over the years, that has evolved into what we call the Ability Toolbox today, and there's a whole room dedicated to it at our conference this week. Melissa, can you tell us more about that?
Thanks. The Ability Toolbox was kind of born as the Traveling Resource Center at the 2000 FOP Symposium, where Amanda Callie, Jerry Licht, and Steve Eichner created a tool and gadget fair. And they had all sorts of tools from the community. So Amanda took this idea and ran with it and created the Traveling Resource Center, where she took binders full of pictures of tools and a traveling assortment of tools to family meetings across the world. And we have developed it into an independent program of the IFOPA called the Ability Toolbox. So we now have a website with over 350 tools that most of them have been suggested by individuals with FOP that can easily be shared. And as Rebecca said, a whole room full of tools that you can explore, and each have a QR code that tells you how it works, shows you a video, and lets you know where to purchase it.
Awesome. Wonderful. Okay, next I'm going to talk about that magical year, 2006, when the gene mutation that causes FOP was discovered. This discovery was made possible by a collaboration between the University of Pennsylvania and Oxford in the UK. And from there, interest in research just skyrocketed, not only in the United States, but around the world. There were researchers in the UK, Netherlands, Japan, Italy, Spain, Canada, and more. Michelle, you tell us more?
So 2006, April 23rd, 2006 was the day they announced at the University of Pennsylvania in a very special press conference that they had identified the gene. And then 1 year after that, in 2007, the IFOPA hosted the 4th Scientific Symposium. And at that meeting, it was decided they wanted to focus on 3 things. They wanted to better understand how the FOP gene mutation changes the function of the ACVR1 protein. They wanted to develop animal models that carried the FOP mutation and then begin testing potential treatments in the lab. 4 years later, in 2011, we held the scientific workshop for a cure, strategies for treatments of FOP, and there were 27 scientists in attendance from various institutions. The interest in FOP research continued to grow, and in 2014, a group of FOP moms, Lori Henrote, who's here in the room, Amanda Callie, Moira Liljeström from Argentina, along with Betsy Bogard, who was the IFOP's research director at the time, planned the very first FOP Drug Development Forum. It was the only scientific conference in the world dedicated to FOP and to finding drug treatments for FOP. The agenda was designed to advance research and collaboration among all researchers in the FOP development pipeline, and it did. After the 2016 DDF, Dr. Zed Shao from UCSF and Pam Yellick from Tufts, so one in San Francisco, one in Boston, partnered on what became an Act for FOP-funded research project. And after the 2022 DDF, Drs. Ben Levy and Ted Price began working on research projects for FOP and pain. This past June, we held the 6th FOP Drug Development Forum in Stockholm, Sweden, and academic researchers and clinician scientists from 43 different academic institutions and 9 pharmaceutical companies and other corporate entities attended. It's pretty amazing for a disease that only affects 1 in a million people. The DDF provides an opportunity for 2 days of sharing and discussions solely focused on FOP. These meetings around the world make the researchers motivated to go back home to their labs and generate multiple ideas about ways that they could treat FOP, which is how we've ended up with 10 FOP clinical trials in FOP since 2014.
That's awesome. So the world of FOP continued to expand, and communities began forming around the world. People in countries would recognize that there were others in their own country who also had FOP, and they began to gather and form their own communities. So in 2007, the International President's Council was formed. This is a network of volunteers that are committed to helping those national and regional FOP organizations stay connected and informed to what's happening through the IFOPA and other FOP organizations around the world. Cool.
So the partnership with the individuals with FOP and the parents who lead these national organizations around the world is vital to the IFOPA's ability to carry out our mission to serve the international community. And this collaboration is a two-way path. As Melissa and I work together to create resources on FOP care management from our oral, lung, and skin health handouts, which you can find on the table in the hallway, for IPC leaders to distribute to their community. We're eager to help these national organizations grow and evolve to make direct connections with newly diagnosed families and to have more touch points in their country. As staff, we're able to support these national organizations by traveling to family meetings around the world to share about our resources and programs, such as our advocacy series, our Ability Toolbox program, and the FOP registry. During these meetings, we're able to meet face-to-face to not only offer personalized support, but also to learn from families about ways that they've navigated their FOP journey. These insights can direct our future programming development and also increase our ability to form connections between community members so they can continue to learn from one another. We're grateful for the ways which the IPC leaders support our work at the IFOPA by spreading word about our programs in their WhatsApp, WeChat, and Facebook groups as well. This mutual desire to work together and to support one another allows us all to do our best as we work to carry forward the shared mission of supporting the FOP community.
From here, our community entered the era of clinical studies and trials. And what that brought with it was a need for real-world evidence. Researchers needed to hear from people with FOP about, what are the implications of living with this condition? What is it like? What does it affect in your life? What other areas of your health and life are affected? So, Sammy, can you tell us a little bit more about how we collect that information?
Yeah, here at the IFOPA, we conduct real-world evidence projects in many ways, and one of those ways is through the registry, which launched in 2015 with a generous grant from the Radiant Hope Foundation that enabled the initial build of the registry. And we're fortunate to now have funding from our registry sponsors, which continues to sustain the meaningful work of the registry. So in the registry, FOP patients and their caregivers fill out surveys every 6 months, and we now have over a third of the known FOP patients in the world participating. We also have over 9 years worth of longitudinal data in the registry, and through data requests, we're able to share de-identified and aggregate data, which really helps researchers, pharmaceutical companies, and physicians to better understand FOP. With this, we're able to inform research, find ways to improve quality of life and clinical care. From time to time, we also do other research projects, and one of the most significant projects was the Prevalence Project. And through this, we were able to conclude the prevalence of FOP is 1 in 1 million, as opposed to the previously thought 1 in 2 million. Another important initiative that is just launched through the registry is the Patient Insight Survey. This is a one-time survey that asks in-depth questions across topics like puberty, medications, pain, and mobility, just to name a few. So patients in the registry can log in and complete the survey right now. And for patients not in the registry, they can create an account and complete their enrollment survey, and then they can complete the Patient Insight Survey. This survey closes in early 2025, and for completing this, they'll receive a $50 gift card.
So as potential treatments are reviewed by the FDA and other regulatory agencies, and as the payers, which is private insurance, Medicare and Medicaid here in the US, are deciding if they are going to cover newly approved drugs, it is very important that they understand the physical, mental, and financial impact FOP has on the person with FOP and their families. So in 2021, Ipsen sponsored a burden of illness study to better describe in the literature the impact of living with FOP. The journal publication can be used by regulatory agencies and payers, and Ipsen also developed a plain language summary for families. Right now, the IFOPA is conducting a very important research study called the Study of Health Insurance Literacy and Access Burdens in FOP. You've probably gotten an email or two from me about it. Did you know that we don't know how FOP patients in the US are insured? There's lots of guesses, but we don't know for sure. Your response to the written survey will help us figure it out. The survey will also tell us about how well you understand your insurance and where you have difficulty navigating coverage for drugs, equipment, and services. So why does this matter? We need this information when drugs are approved so the pharmaceutical companies can negotiate with the payers that are most applicable for our FOP families. It's also super important to the IFOPA's advocacy work. I've been to Rare Disease Week multiple times, and I get asked by our members of Congress, how are FOP patients insured? And I've always had to say, I don't know. This information isn't collected in the registry. So the IFOPA will use this data to be able to answer that question, to help pharma, to help us, and also to help us use what we know about how you navigate your insurance to have Hope and her team build better educational programs and services for you. So the written survey you can take, it's $50. That's where you tell us how you're insured. And if you are eligible for an interview, you earn an additional $100. So there's an information card at the table, or you can stop me and I'll get you the link to take the survey. We're grateful to Ipsen and Regeneron, who provided grants to underwrite this study.
And as Michelle mentioned, the more that we can hear and learn from research about the real-life implications of FOP on the individual and the family, the better we are able to hone our programming to meet those needs. We know from real-world evidence that pain, isolation, and the unknown nature of FOP flare-ups creates mental health challenges for the whole family. In 2019, the IFOPA launched the Resilient Living Program as a designated space for families to come to find resources and programs that could support their mental and emotional well-being. Today, this section of our website houses a variety of programs that have been created over the years to target the very triggers research told us were impacting our families. Similarly, the advocacy series was launched in 2021 to draw more attention to the vital role the individual and family plays in achieving optimal outcomes as they navigate FOP-related challenges in a variety of settings, from healthcare to insurance. The specific and telling outcomes of Sammy and Michelle's work and real-world evidence allows us to create targeted programs to support families through situations that have real-life implications on their day-to-day world.
So the more trials and studies that emerged, the more important it became to make sure that people in our community were aware of them, and even to find more people to fill them. Catherine, can you tell us about those efforts?
Yeah, so every year we have a lot of resources. We make a lot of resources available to families, starting with Rare Disease Day. Rare Disease Day is, of course, the last day of February each year, and we have the last week leading up to Rare Disease Day, we start posting a lot of information about rare disease in general and specifically FOP, in the hopes that this provides information and resources to FOP families to share that in your networks, and hopefully, like pebbles in a pond, it's shared beyond that. And raising awareness is critical because that's how it helps us find families, and Rare Disease Day is a start. And then that, as we get closer to the 1st of April, with April 23rd being Global FOP Awareness Day, we start ramping up to the 1st of April when we just really come out like gangbusters celebrating Global FOP Awareness Month. And we provide a month-long list of all kinds of resources, mostly in the form of social media, which we'll talk about more in a minute, and Emily will talk more about that as well. But we provide information and graphics about what it's like to live with FOP, what FOP is, the research happening with FOP. And the goal is to have, I don't know if you've seen it, but this past year we had 24 countries representing 19 languages across the world, all posting these same graphics and the same captions all over the world. So no matter where you found yourself, you would look online and you'd see on all these different social media channels, you would see the same information but in your language. And the goal is to, of course, raise awareness, but the goal of raising awareness is to eventually work to minimizing misdiagnosis, which we're really happy has lessened, and Melissa's gonna talk more about that in a few minutes. But it's also to find families, because there are families who may see this in whatever language that's being shared around the world. They may not even know that FOP is what their child or they themselves have. Or they could know someone who knows someone who knows someone. And so it's really important that we get that Awareness Day messaging out every single year. Social media has been incredibly important to us in achieving those goals. And so I'm gonna turn that over to Emily now to talk about.
So as many of you who have followed the IFOPA for years have probably noticed, we've really started stepping up our digital presence over the last 4 to 5 years. And especially ramping up during COVID. We have become much more intentional about our social media presence. We're actively posting every day, sometimes multiple times a day. We're active on Facebook, Instagram, which has been very popular with the international community, LinkedIn and Twitter, and we find that we have very diverse audiences on kind of each of those platforms within the FOP community. We are focused on sharing critical updates, so information about clinical trials, recruiting, opening new sites, when they're full, when publications are released. We try to share every little bit of detail we can about our programs and services, support groups, webinars, other resources, the Life Award grants, alerting healthcare providers of CME opportunities. And so we are really thinking through, how do we get that information in front of people over and over again to make sure that you're aware of what we're offering and that you're able to share it too with other people in the FOP community. We are focused on recognizing achievements in the community. So the Jeannie Pieper Awards, obviously, we are very excited to share those. We love showcasing cool things that all of you in the community are doing and have achieved. And we are also always trying new things. So hopefully a lot of you are following our In Pursuit of a Cure campaign. We were posting around the clock on the actual day of giving. So that was kind of the first time we've done that. We also did a Facebook Live for the first time, which was very exciting. We also pay close attention to the interactions that we have in the social space. So we're regularly looking at comments, responding to them, taking the feedback to our teams. And we have identified new patients and families through the comments on social, and then have been able to connect them with our IFOPA team and resources to bring them into the FOP community. So Jamie's going to talk a little bit more about what we do once we identify people.
Yeah. So we use a secure online database to organize contact information and information about how people engage with the IFOPA. This database is completely separate from the FOP registry that Sammy touched on earlier. It is a key source for the IFOPA to make sure we have up-to-date contact information for everyone in the FOP community, including individuals with FOP, family members, researchers, doctors, donors, and more. Having a highly organized and current database is important so that our stakeholders, that includes all of you, can receive the information that you need. If someone on the IFOPA team has reached out to you to make sure we have your current email address or mailing address or social media information, that's why. We want to make sure we always have the most up-to-date information to keep you in the loop. Another example of something that we track in our database is how people utilize their Harold and Elaine Kaplan Quality of Life Award, and Melissa is going to share a little bit more about those.
The Harold and Elaine Kaplan Quality of Life Awards is a program that helps individuals with FOP purchase adaptive tools, make home modifications, or pay tuition to improve their quality of life. In 2024, there were 47 recipients in 18 different countries, including the United States, which is just fantastic. And with this generous gift from Dr. Kaplan and his family, we've really been able to expand our international reach and serve those with FOP. The program is a great way to connect with families across the globe and then be able to get them introduced to all of the other wonderful things that the IFOPA can provide and help them with. Another way we connect with them is through our website. So Emily will discuss kind of how we're expanding that piece.
So in 2017, that was the last time we redid our website. And at the time, I actually worked for the company that was involved in building out that site. So during that time, I really got to know the IFOPA, and I fell in love with the mission and the organization. And so it's particularly fulfilling for me to be back here now in a full-time role because my journey with IFOPA started so many years ago. Since then, we've grown significantly as an organization. In terms of the website, we're always thinking about new features we can add. So we've added the ability toolbox, the patient directory. We're currently in the process of implementing new web accessibility features to the site. And we are also enhancing our analytics so that we can better understand site activity, how everyone's using the site, what pages and resources we offer are most important to you, and then using that information to make it easier for you to access our resources. We are in the beginning stages of outlining a major overhaul of the website for the future, which we're very excited about, and that our hope is that that will continue to reflect the constantly evolving needs of the IFOPA and of the FOP community. So yeah.
Well, all of this wonderful work would not be possible without the extraordinary effort to raise funds by families like all of you. And one of the IFOPA's greatest responsibilities is stewarding those funds that you've entrusted us with. Jamie?
So it is extremely important to the board and staff to ensure that we're being a good steward of resources. What we mean when we say being a good steward of resources is ultimately maximizing the impact of our work, doing the most that we can do to advance research, support families, and raise awareness. One important measure of that commitment to good stewardship is ensuring that the highest possible percentage of your financial support, the community's financial support, goes directly to programs. In 2023, that was 81 cents of every dollar, which is well above industry standards. Transparency and stewardship are core values of the IFOPA, and as Rebecca said, it's a responsibility that we take very seriously.
So as we move along our timeline tonight, we find ourselves here today. We've come a long way from Jeannie's letter writing campaign. We've evolved as a community, and the IFOPA has evolved as an organization. So this feels like the perfect time to plan where we're going next on this journey. The board and staff have embarked on creating a strategic plan for the next 3 years for the IFOPA. We hired a consultant to help us with this, just to keep the integrity of the process and keep things confidential when they need to be, and also to be transparent with our community as we go through this process. We have gotten incredible support from all of you and input from the community as we begin to craft this plan. There were over 110 responses to the survey that was sent out. There have been focus groups, there have been one-on-one interviews, and we're just very pleased with how much everyone is willing to be a part of building what comes next for the IFOPA. People that we have talked to, or our consultant has talked to, are FOP patients and families, researchers and clinicians from around the world, pharmaceutical companies, and even other patient advocacy organizations that aren't involved with FOP, but are people that we can learn from and how they run their organizations and how they help their communities. Again, I want to thank everybody who has participated in this effort. I'm positive that some of you here today have. Thank you so much. As our community grows, we also have the need to create some new systems for ensuring that people stay connected and informed, and Hope can tell us a little bit more about that.
And I know that we've all experienced the overwhelming flood of a full email inbox, and know that for many of our families, there's little to no time sometimes to identify what from those communications can really help them. So one of our latest efforts, our new Welcome series, was designed to ensure that newly diagnosed or those families who are just connecting to the IFOPA for the first time don't have to rely on replying to one or just two emails from myself or Melissa in order to receive a full picture of the support and resources we can provide. We do the planning to ensure that you receive a variety of information tailored to your family at a pace that is digestible. These communications start with a follow-up from me about our top 5 family service programs, and then information from Catherine about awareness resources, Melissa about Ability Toolbox recommendations, and Sammy with an update on if you've started or if you have, where you are in your registry status. Clinical trial and support trial, or funding support and clinical trial updates are all a part of the process as well. And these steps are a helpful way of connecting families to the different members of the IFOPA team who can support them in their journey.
So as this work progresses and more people with FOP are identified around the world, more drugs are approved, more local doctors are going to find themselves caring for patients with FOP for the first time. The IFOPA plays a role in educating those physicians as well.
So as Rebecca said, as more drugs are approved, we are going to need more local doctors, especially if you're on Medicaid, to be familiar with FOP and to care for our families, to prescribe treatments, and to make sure that they receive the care in all of the areas of FOP. FOP is complicated, you know this. So we are partnering with medical education companies, pharmaceutical companies, and other groups like the Rare Bone Disease Alliance and Tin Soldiers to promote education for healthcare providers. So please watch our e-newsletters and social media posts and share these learning opportunities with your local healthcare providers. There's a brand new CME program that we launched last week with P2P Synchro and Partners in Advancing Clinical Education. Christine Yu, who brought that program to the community with Dr. Chris Scott, is here, so I hope you'll have a chance to visit with her while you're at the gathering.
The one thread that runs through this IFOPA journey that we've talked about tonight is you, our FOP families. Your engagement has made every one of these advancements possible. I'm really thanking you from the bottom of my heart here. As the FOP landscape continues to evolve, let's stay the course until we achieve our vision of a cure for FOP available worldwide. Michelle is now going to honor some exceptional community members.
And before we do that, though, I do want to make one other, I want to pass it back to Melissa for just 1 second to share about one other new program, which is pretty exciting that we're working on.
In 2025, we are excited to be launching a pediatric awareness campaign with underwriting support from Ipsen and Regeneron. We are on a mission to educate physical therapists, occupational therapists, primary care physicians, and pediatricians who might come across undiagnosed patients with FOP to be able to recognize the early signs and symptoms, the lumps and bumps, the bent toes, and the stiff necks, so that they can recognize and refer before any sort of damage is done. We're going to be attending various medical conferences and sharing this awareness.
So I hope you've heard, as we've talked about the evolution of the FOP community, what a critical role volunteers have had and continue to play. Since 2010, the IFOPA has used the annual Jeannie Pieper Awards to recognize those who have made exceptional contributions to the worldwide FOP community through their leadership and service in raising FOP awareness, supporting patients and families, and raising funds. In 14 years, we have honored 74 individuals, families, and organizations. And if you see someone with a light green ribbon, that means they are a past winner, so be sure to stop and thank them. This fall, we announced this year's honorees. Greta Emmerich, who was our Jeannie Pieper President's Lifetime Achievement Award winner. Dr. Eleanor Bouvie-Barons from the Netherlands, a dentist. Sunil Ladwa, who runs FOP Trust in India. Brett Matslos, who did the Wet Brett Challenge fundraiser. And Oliver Bedford Gay, 16-year-old doing amazing things in the UK. We are thrilled to be able to give the final 2 awards to people who are here with us this evening.
So I get the honor of handing out the first award. And this young woman is someone that many of you may know from social media, where she so beautifully shares her raw, real experience navigating the challenging times with FOP, while also being available as a resource to brighten the day for others who are looking to connect with a friendly face in the community. Erin's support of the FOP community extends beyond the personal connections and experiences she generates online. She shares her gifts of service with the IFOPA through webinars she's presented and fundraising videos she's appeared in, and most recently, or as of tomorrow, as a family gathering discussion facilitator for the adult women with FOP. Just earlier this year, Erin traveled to Washington, D.C. to advocate not only for the FOP community, but for all those living with rare diseases as an Every Life Foundation Young Adult Rare representative. Her eagerness and willingness, when asked or on her own volition, to get involved and do whatever she can to help our community is truly inspiring. And I could not be more honored to give this year's Inspiring Leader Award to Erin Dancer.
So I'm here to talk about Tiffany Williams. I first met Tiffany back in 2018. We talked on the phone. She was one of the first, she might have been the first FOP mom that I ever spoke with. And in 2019, we relaunched a redesigned fundraising committee, and Tiffany jumped in and said she would be happy to help. And since then, I think she said yes to every single thing I've ever asked, even the craziest things. She has made videos for me. She has sent cards for me. She has done photographs for me that we've posted all over. Just write her name down because you may need it later, Emily. But she's, you ask her to do it, she'll do it. I've started, I don't even know if I've told you this yet, Tiffany, but I've started calling her One Take Tiffany, because every time I need a video, I'll call her and say, this is what we need, and then I get it like 10 seconds later on my phone, boom, it's there. She helps us fundraise in a multitude of ways, but the first fundraiser that she was doing when I first met her, which she still does, is Believe in a Cure with the Honey Heart Jars. And in case you haven't heard of this before, she has a beekeeper friend named Shelly who donates just a ton of honey to her, and she fills it. Tiffany FaceTimed me way back when I first started and showed me the process. And she stands in her kitchen and she fills these heart-shaped glass jars with honey, and she sells them. And I think the first year she did this in 2018, she sold 1,000 jars and raised $10,000 in a week or 10 days or something like that. And she's continued to do that almost every year. Even during the pandemic, she had to get creative with that. She's doing it again later this year. She has had a fundraising page for In Pursuit of a Cure, I think every single year that we've had it. Again, I made a comment once about, it would be so cool if we could have like a fundraising gaming tournament. She's like, I'll do it. I mean, just jumped up and did it and underwrote the whole thing. And she's talked about having bingo, if we can figure that out in Texas. And I don't want to put pressure on you, but the entire time I've been here, I've been really hoping someone would do a golf tournament again that I could be part of. And I don't know, Houston seems like a great place to play golf, and I am wearing my golf socks tonight. So anyway, we can talk about that later. But I am so honored to present to Tiffany Williams the Outstanding Individual Fundraising Jeannie Pieper Award.